and welcome to tonight's Public Service Commission Primary Candidate Forum. All of the candidates were invited to participate, and we are grateful to those who are here this evening, not only for joining us, but for their willingness to serve our communities. Tonight's forum features 3 candidates running for Public Service Commission Place 1 and Place 2. This is a pivotal moment for the Commission. Earlier this April, Alabama's legislature passed a law that will significantly reshape the structure. The Commission will expand from a president and 2 members to 7 members. 4 new members will be appointed by the governor this summer, with the transition to district-based elections by 2030. The legislation also establishes a cabinet-level Secretary of Energy who will set the Commission's meeting agendas and oversee its staff. Absentee voting has already begun for the May 19th primary election, so now is the time to make your voting plan and prepare to cast your ballot. Information on the election, from where your polling location is to who are my candidates, can be found at our online voter guide, vote411.org. Before we begin, just a quick reminder that tonight's forum is being live streamed and a recording will be available on the LWVAL's YouTube channel. Finally, the League of Women Voters will host another candidate forum for Public Service Commission candidates ahead of the general election. We hope you'll join us again for that conversation. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Margaret Jones, our moderator for tonight's forum. Dr. Jones is originally from Florence, Alabama. She is a wife, mother, and an educator. We are honored to have our fellow league member lead tonight's discussion. Dr. Jones?
Thank you, Kim, for the introduction. I am Dr. Margaret Jones, and I am going to go back to my old school marm days. So if you see me with my glasses on the tip of my nose, it's because I need to read my notes. So thank you all for joining us this evening. And I want to thank our candidates who are here with us today, who have taken time out of your busy schedules to share how you would be the best candidate for the respective positions. Also, I would like for our audience members, thank you for being here with us this evening. You also have a critical role in this discussion today. I would like to go over the expectations for our discussion today. And I know that we're going to have an atmosphere of civility, respect, and we're going to allow each candidate to have an opportunity to share their responses. Now there will be a timer, and if I can have my timekeeper. So, candidates, I need you to ensure that you see our timekeeper, she will give you your time when you have 30 seconds, and when she puts up the red stop sign, thank you. When she puts up the red stop sign, again, I am an educator, I know how to say thank you for your response. We're going to go to the next candidate. We definitely want to make sure that we stay on time for our session today, and you will have the opportunity for a 15-second rebuttal if needed. We will start in alphabetical order, and as we progress through our questions, we will go to the next candidate. So, for example, if Mr. Gordon answers first, for the next question, Mr. Ramsey will go second, and so on. Just to go over our candidate forum expectations, just remember respect and civility. For all participants, we must treat each other with respect and civility. Personal attacks, insults, or any form of disrespect will not be allowed in our forum today. We're going to adhere to our time limits. Each candidate will be given a specific amount of time to speak and respond to questions. They will be strictly enforced to ensure fairness and allow all candidates an equal opportunity to present their views. Questions for the candidates can be submitted by the audience in advance. Those questions will be reviewed and selected by a neutral moderator to ensure they are relevant and fair. The role for the moderator will be to manage the forum, enforce the time limits, and ensure that the discussion remains respectful and germane to the topic. The moderator has the authority to intervene if a candidate goes off topic or violates the rules. Candidates must not interrupt each other. Each candidate will have their turn to speak without being interrupted. I will ensure that this rule is followed. All candidates will be given equal opportunities to speak and respond to questions, and that is the 15-second rebuttal. The order of speaking will be determined, and we talked about the schedule. The audience is expected to remain respectful and quiet during the forum. Applause, cheering, or any form of disruption is not allowed. The forum may be recorded and covered by the media. Candidates and audience members should be aware that their statements and actions may be captured and broadcasted. The moderator's decisions are final, and any disputes or issues that arise during the forum will be resolved by the moderator. These expectations are designed to create a fair and respectful environment where candidates can present their views and the audience can also make informed decisions. Do we have any questions from the candidates before we begin? All right. So, we're going to begin with opening statements. You will each have 2 minutes in your opening statement, and it will be an opportunity for you to just share a little bit about yourself to the audience members that are here in present and those that are listening and participating via Zoom. And we will start with place 1 candidate, Mr. James Gordon.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay? I just want to thank the League of Women Voters for having this forum. My name is Dr. James Gordon. I started my career Good evening. Thank you for the League of Women Voters for having this forum. I'm honored to be here and be invited. My name is Dr. James Gordon. I started my career in the U.S. Navy back in '82. I was off the coast when Lebanon blew up the Marine barracks back in '82, '83. After the Navy, I went to the paper mill, so I paid over 4 paper mill worker union for a couple of years in containers in Rome, Georgia. Finished my doctorate degree and been a chiropractor for 30 years in Mobile, Alabama. I was a state legislator for 2006 to 2010 for District 98, where I served. So my history has always been service. My goal was always to give back. And when I look at the national picture of the Democratic Party in some of their state, I saw that the views that I had have been, I guess, a Bill Clinton type Democrat were not being addressed. So I feel like I need to put my hat back in the ring and try to pull things back on track. So I hope to serve as a Public Service Commissioner to help to bring the many things that the Public Service Commission offers to the table. Now, since we're going from 3 members to 7 members, it won't be quite as easy. Our biggest elephant in the room right now is the Alabama power rates. But there are about 5 or 6 other things that the Commission does that could help our small communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. Next, we will have Mr. Jeff Ramsey.
All right. My name is Jeff Ramsey. I'm a 15-year electrician, not exactly a politician, but I think that makes me fit to serve in the Public Service Commission role. Alabama Power is obviously the elephant in the room of what affordability crisis means in Alabama. You can speak to many people, and a lot of them are going to give you the same answer. My bills are too high, my groceries are too high, the gas is too expensive, all these types of things. The Public Service Commissioner, like Dr. James said, we can do several things, but the rate case in Alabama hasn't been addressed. The Alabama Power has made profits year over year. They keep returning to shareholders instead of the consumers and the customers. they have the largest environmental impact in our state, with Plant Miller being is the largest greenhouse gas emitter in the country, not in the state, but in the country. And like I said, we need a PSC for the people. That's what we have to have at this juncture in our lifetime. This is a role that I think I'm fit to serve because of my past experiences with electrical work, with being able to talk about kilowatt hours, being able to talk about solar energy, being able to talk about generation and natural gas and things that go into production, transmission, and delivery to a residential or business service, which is getting into the weeds about things, but at the end of the day, that's going to deliver affordability to folks, and that's what we're kind of after at the end of the day. So I appreciate y'all giving me this opportunity to talk about it.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey. Next, Ms. McNeil.
Well, good evening. I'm happy to be here today, and I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this very important forum. And I want to thank every one of you who are here, who see the value in being an educated voter and how that adds to our democracy. It makes it stronger. So thank you all for being here. My name is Sheila McNeil, and I'm running for Public Service Commission Place 2. I am honored to be the Democratic nominee. I have lived in Alabama for the past 15 years. I attended undergrad here, and I have over 20 years of public service experience. I served on the city council in the then 8th largest city in the country. I chaired many boards and commissions while I was serving there, and I've been in position to be able to tackle the tough issues, to be able to balance competing priorities, and I've also been honored to be able to be the voice of the people. I'm looking forward to serving on the commission because it's time for the people of Alabama to have a voice and a choice. A voice at the Public Service Commission because historically, for the last 2 decades, the Public Service Commission has been led by a revolving door and a rubber stamp. It has rubber stamped what the power companies want, and I think it's time that we give the power back to where it belongs, and that's with the people. So I'm excited about this run. I want to use my experience and my knowledge to be able to serve and be able to make a difference here in Alabama. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank each of our candidates for providing a little bit of your passion and your zeal for wanting to serve in this critical position. And I will say one of the common things that I've noticed within your response is the affordability, educated voters, because as the league president stated, this is an area that we really haven't heard much from. So we definitely want to make sure that our voters are educated on these candidates that will impact them. So our very first question, and this is for you, Mr. Ramsey, and if you need me to repeat a question when it's your turn to respond, just please let me know. In Alabama, residents consistently raise concerns about high utility, electric, and gas bills. What is one specific action you would take in your first year to lower or stabilize rates, and how would you measure success?
Step one is we're going to address the affordability by an immediate 5% decrease in the rate that you have. So 16.1 kilowatt is the base now. We should reduce that by 5% immediately because Alabama Power profit margins are record profits. So they're making too much money off the backs of us. The second step in that is to have a rate case in 2027. That is what the PSC has to put forward. We have to open up the books of Alabama Power and see what they've been doing for the past 40 years since we've had a rate case and why they are charging the amounts that they're charging. Alabama Power is a subsidiary of Southern Company, and Alabama Power consumers are 16% of Southern Company, but they account for 35% of the profit margin. Those numbers should be a little more in line, and we should get to the bottom of why that is. That's what the PSC's job is, and that's what my job is to do in 2027. That's going to help not stabilize rates, but that's going to help lower rates and bring affordability to people.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey. Ms. McNeil, same question.
I guess the first, I think the first thing that's important is that we open up the books, do a rate case review. Until we know what's in the books and why and how they come up with the rates that they have, it's important that we look and see and make sure that what they're charging is something that ratepayers should be paying. I agree, we've got to lower them immediately, but I think the first step would be to demand and to require that Alabama Power bring forward, or all of the utility companies bring forward their records so that we can look at them and assess, because the new law that was just passed, I don't even think they took the time to assess why the bills are so high. So I think that's the first step for me.
Thank you, Ms. McNeil. And Dr. Gordon.
Yes, some of our residents that get power from the Tennessee Valley Authority pay 11 cents per kilowatt hour. We're well over 33% higher, so my first move would be to try to get the power bills lower by 25%, and it's going to require negotiation. We're dealing with a private company in Alabama Power. It's a major corporation, a Southern company, and they created this for-profit company back in the 1940s. This created a special problem, so at some point our electric bills will equal what we pay for rent or mortgages. So we have to talk to the board, PSC's lawyer, to see if there is a legal path, if there is not a negotiated path. The rate cases we need to have, make sure our rates don't continue to go up. Sadly, when I read and study the rate cases, it has no mechanism to make the prices go down. It's how the power company comes to the public to justify an increase in rates. We got to figure out how to force them down a little bit, and that would be the biggest step. And I would measure that success by at least resulting in 10% or 50% decrease after asking for 25% and working toward that.
Thank you. And again, if you want to offer a rebuttal, just let me know. You will have 15 seconds if you would like to offer a rebuttal to one of the responses from your fellow candidates. Question number 2, and we'll start with Ms. Sheila McNeil. An issue many residents complain about is the lack of transparency of the Public Service Commission. Case in point, in 2019, the PSC allowed a 3% rate increase to Alabama Power to cover their costs related to remediating and closing coal ash ponds. And it's not clear what remediation Alabama Power completed and what the final costs were. So the question is, how will you work to communicate with Alabama residents on any rate increase for a specific project? What did the rate increase buy? And did the rate increase cover the cost for the project? But how would you work to communicate with the Alabama residents on rate increases?
Well, I believe that, being in close contact with the Alabama Power customers is going to be important. Have a relationship, have an open door, also have town halls where they can come in and express themselves, and we can listen to what their concerns are, and then go back and make sure we're doing what we need to do to make sure their voice is heard. Alabama Power needs to be at the table too. My goal is to bring them both to the table, bring Alabama Power, and see how we can come to a compromise. We can lower utility bills, but we can also help prepare our utility companies for the future. We got to make sure we have reliable energy for the future, and I want to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our ratepayers, but also making sure we have reliable energy for the future.
Thank you. Dr. Gordon, same question. How will you work to communicate with Alabama residents on any rate increase for a specific project?
I have to agree with Mr. Ramsey and Ms. Sheila in the earlier question about opening the books. We have to try to allow our citizens to see what the costs are, the true costs for Alabama Power and their profit margins, and see, make sure that we're compatible with our neighboring states and neighboring public-owned entities that are within our states, such as utility companies down south and the private utility companies up north.
Thank you. Mr. Ramsey?
Transparency is something I'm real big on. I run a small business. Anybody that works inside the business can look at the books at any point in time. We can have a discussion, we can talk about it, and we can answer questions democratically, because everybody's voice within inside of a certain group that's working towards a common goal, and this being the case is power delivery, should be able to not just have a voice, but have an opinion and have a discussion about it. That's what the TVA does, that's what the other co-ops in the state do, but Alabama Power has a very closed door, backdoor policy. The PSC was set up in order to stop that, and so far we haven't had that. So we need to bring transparency to meetings, we need to have online meetings, we need to have public platforms, we need to be able to see who the staff members are inside the PSC. It's 2026, we all have access to online data, and that's the first thing that's going to bring accountability, is being able to be transparent about what's taking place. And we should be able to have a public vote in a town hall about projects like coal ash ponds, like new generation plants, like hydroelectric inside of the city, inside of the state. That's going to give the customers confidence that the PSC is advocating for the people now, instead of making backdoor and backroom deals with Alabama Power to protect their profit margins. That's the issue at hand, and the only way that we can stop that. The only way that we can stop that is to be open and honest about what's taking place.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey, and Mr. Neal.
Yeah, I'd like to add, what I think would be a good remedy for this would be to establish a ratepayer advisory group, where ratepayers can sit on a panel and they can hear what's going on as far as what the power companies are doing, and weigh in and have a voice. And that voice, I think, will reverberate throughout the community. You have citizens come in, be a part of an advisory group to give us advice, but also bring the voice of the community with them. I think that would be helpful for helping ratepayers feel confident in making sure that their voice is heard when it comes to what they're paying for utilities.
Thank you, Ms. Ramsey. And hope you may have an opportunity to elaborate on another question similar to this response. So for our next question, there has been recent press coverage on the ties between the industry stakeholders and the PSC. How will you maintain independence from utilities you regulate, particularly regarding campaign contributions or relationships with industry stakeholders? And we'll start with Dr. Gordon.
Currently, the PSC commissioners cannot own any utility stocks. You're not supposed to have it in order of the family. So we need to continue that. We don't need to be like our U.S. Congress, where we have insider trading and where the commissioners end up being dumped in their wealth by the time they get into office. I lost my thought. But basically, I would say that if we ban the contribution of the utility company from putting money to the candidates or to the PSC, that would solve that problem. As a legislator, you cannot be advocating for something that you have interest in. So if we do the same for the PSC commission, you have the Alabama Power cannot have money invested in the commission, since it directly affects them. So if it directly affects your livelihood, then you cannot invest in it. There should be a law, a state law, to make that illegal.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. Mr. Ramsey?
Yeah, there's a clear thing of what's right and wrong. It's not difficult to figure out. You're either advocating for the big corporations and the profit margins, or you're advocating for the people and the ratepayers. I'm a ratepayer, I'm friends with ratepayers, my family are ratepayers, the people that I'm in community with are ratepayers, and right now I see a lot of money leaving the state in the form of profits to big corporations like Alabama Power. They are creating worse and worse environments for those coal ash ponds, the pollution, the amount of turmoil that they're causing in communities by extracting resources in the way of dollars and things like that are leaving the state. That's an issue. That's morally corrupt and bankrupt, in my opinion. And there's not an amount of money, amount of campaign contributions. I don't take any corporate PAC money anyway. But there's not anything that's sweet enough to make me change my opinion on what morally we should do as working class folks and advocating for the people. And it's just that simple. That's the way they've always been, and that's the way they're going to continue to be. We have to have, if the government's not working for you, it's working against you. And the PSC right now is working against the people of Alabama, and I'm looking to change that.
Thank you. Mr. Neal?
Well, my understanding is PSC candidates or commissioners cannot take contributions from power companies. That's the bottom line for me. That's a no. So there's no other answer to that, but I won't cross that line. Simple as that.
Okay, thank you. So, for our audience members who are with us in person and those who are participating via Zoom, I hope you are taking copious notes and listening to the responses for these candidates who are here with us today. And there's some common themes that I've noticed across each of the candidates, which is wonderful because I can't remember who stated it earlier, we need educated voters. And for many of the persons who may be watching on Zoom, this may be the first time in which they really know what the Public Service Commission does. And so when you break it down so that anyone can understand, that is really making sure that we have informed voters who are voting on issues that will enhance the livelihoods of their families. So thank you for that. Our next question, and we will start with Mr. Ramsey. How should Alabama balance investments in traditional energy sources with renewables like solar or wind? Please name one policy or decision you would support that reflects your approach.
The first policy that I would change is the PSC rubber stamp the approval for Alabama Power to charge $5.41 per kilowatt hour of solar energy that's on your home. That's a punitive capacity charge that stifles out not just an individual resident being able to produce power themselves, but it stifles out an industry. There's millions of dollars that are left on the table every year because solar energy for residents is not where it needs to be at for this state compared to other states. That's step one. Step two is I don't want to shut down anything that's already in production, but there's a better way. Solar is 1/3 of the price to complete a new solar generation facility than it is to do natural gas or a coal-fired steam plant. At the end of the day, Alabama Power makes most of its power from steam, which is just heating water up. There's a couple of paper mills in this state that have their own boilers that burn regen pulp in them. So it's basically just pulp wood. And they create 40 megawatts of power themselves because it's cheaper for them to burn wood and create power than just to buy power from Alabama Power. So what options do we have out there? Why do we have less than 30% hydroelectric dams and we have over 2,000 regular dams in the state? There's better ways of doing things out there. We need to be advocating and having the conversation of where can we move in the future that takes care of the most amount of people for the least amount of expense and the least amount of harm to the environment.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey. Ms. McNeil, do you need me to repeat the question or?
No, I don't think I'm good. I believe that in order for us to really bring our utility rates down, we're going to have to diversify our portfolio. And that means open up opportunities for solar and clean energy so we can clean up our environment while we allow for opportunities for other utilities to come in and be able to serve our community. I think that's one of the major ways that futuristically we can really bring down our utilities. But also solar energy is an opportunity, I believe, that we're missing here in Alabama. There are people all over the country who have solar panels on their homes and they're making money. They're profiting from being able to sell that energy back into the grid. We need that opportunity here in Alabama, plus it gives us an opportunity to have clean energy and increase that level of clean energy in our community and minimize the coal power plants. I'm sorry, they're destroying our environment. So that's what I would do.
Thank you. Dr. Gordon?
So the solar panels, plants are the most economical way of generating power. That's why the big AI farms are building solar panel plants to put money back into the grid. They were said to be net neutral, so we should move that over to the house. As Ms. Sheila said, that solar is very economical, but we also need to make it where we don't use the solar and sell it back to Alabama Power at a fair rate. Right now, I think they pay us 10 to 20% of what the national rate is, so we can make sure they buy that extra solar energy back at a comparable rate. And these 4,000 acres and 16,000 acre farms of solar panels, they build those because that's the most economical way to generate power in our great state of Alabama.
Thank you. Mr. Ramsey?
Yeah, I just want to offer a little bit, a tidbit more. So when I advocate for solar energy, I'm not talking about a 4,000, 6,000, which I don't think that's what you're saying, but I don't want to lose our farmland, I don't want to lose our undeveloped places, but we need creative solutions about parking lot infrastructure, large building infrastructure, government-owned buildings and things like that. Y'all right?
You'll probably have an opportunity to
That's
expound on that response in one of the other questions. I guarantee you will. Question number 5, and we will start with Ms. McNeil. And I actually live in a rural community here in the state of Alabama, and I will be honest with you, Kim shared earlier, I'm from North Alabama. We were a TVA family. I mean, that's what we were. We were a TVA family, and just personally, when you start paying for these different, I had to pay with Alabama Power and a cooperative when I was in another rural part of the state. So, low income and rural communities are often hit hardest by utility costs. We know that. What targeted policy would you support to ensure these households aren't disproportionately burdened?
Well, I think it's going to be important with, the level of profit that the power companies have. I think we need to open up programs and opportunities to be able to offer low-income communities support when it comes to paying utility bills. We need to expand that. I think that, now they do have some programs in place. I think we need to go through them, we need to scrub them, we need to make sure, we need to reevaluate the criteria that it takes to participate and be eligible. But I think what we should do is make sure rural communities have a special program that we can also offer them to be able to get some assistance and from the power companies and make sure that they can pay their bills. So I think a special program for rural communities, I think, would be something that I would advocate for.
Thank you. And Dr. Gordon, same question about the low income.
I would say for low-income individuals, the best way to help them out would be you have these weatherization programs. I was on the Mobile Community Action Board for 20 years, and we had this weatherization, $5,000 to $10,000 we spend on the house each year. We take a similar program like that and spend it on solar panels for our low-income houses to make sure that it's generating power and that will reduce the bill. And we don't get Alabama Power off there 16 cents per kilowatt hour. There's no way to reduce it for our poor folks, but one way to do it is to subsidize it with a program or to put solar panels where the power is less for our individuals.
Thank you. Mr. Ramsey.
Yeah, I think that Alabama Power should reinvest 10% of the profit margins back into energy efficient upgrades for low-income residents. That's not a difficult ask to do. They do have some programming language around that now, but it's a lot of hurdles to jump through, and it's more than other privately owned utility companies in other states. There's programs out there where they have to reinvest in blown insulation, windows, new doors, all these types of things, because if you have an energy inefficient 850 square foot house, it will consume more energy than a 2,500 square foot energy efficient new house. And that's a problem when you don't have enough socioeconomic ability to do these things yourself. But take some of Alabama Power's profit margin, and instead of returning that to shareholders and investors, use that to strengthen and bring up the resilience of the community so we don't have to build new generation plants and we don't have to burn more coal every year and things of that nature. We can fix the solutions that we have. We can fix the problems we have with easy solutions like that instead of just pushing that boat down the road.
Thank you. And Ms. Lee,
I just want to reiterate the importance of educating our communities. Rural communities, we need to make sure they're educated on what programs are available, what the eligibility criteria is, and that we hold their hand or build a bridge for them to use those programs. I think that may be a missing link in a lot of communities. They just don't know what's available. So customer education is going to be another priority that I'm going to have with the Public Service Commission staff, that we educate our rural communities on what's available and make sure a bridge is built to make sure that they can take advantage of those opportunities.
and Dr. Gordon.
LWVAL is ran by the Mobile Community Actions, or not the Mobile Community Actions, but the community actions throughout the state. Each of our counties have, and sometimes the counties are grouped together, but this line organization comes out from the Fed that they spend $5,000 to $10,000 on houses each year. People in mobile communities get new windows, installation, new doors, in these poor communities. So we have to make sure our public is educated, and those are available. And then we add to it by what Mr. Grammy said, we get Alabama Power to pitch in, and that will just add more money to helping our poor.
Thank you. Our next question. Given the increasing reliance on broadband as an essential service, do you believe the PSC should take a more active regulatory role in telecommunications? And if so, how would you balance encouraging private investment with protecting consumers from high cost and poor service? And we will start with Dr. Gordon.
And sadly, broadband was one of those areas that was taken away from the Public Service Commission a few years back. We need to fight to get that back. Many times over the years, the government said they're going to put broadband in all the poor communities and all the cities and what have you to make it accessible. So I would support any effort to make the internet more accessible to all of our citizens, certainly in our poor communities that can't afford the monthly internet broadband charges. But currently, the Public Service Commission, we have with private companies, and the broadband is one of those areas that was really cut from us. We have wired telephone lines. The home telephone lines that are wired in, we still have that, but the broadband, they take that away from us.
Mr. Randy?
Yeah, the same thing. Like I said, we can't, as a public service commissioner, our teeth were kind of left at, I think, in '94 when the bill was passed. So we don't have any regulation or any ability to regulate broadband services in the state. That's from a federal level. Now, can we sit at the same table with those and try to ensure that the most amount of people, of Alabama residents, gets the service that they need, because that's essential in 2026? Yes, we can do that. We can have those conversations the same way that we can have conversations with legislators to make sure that we have a PSC that advocates for the people instead of a PSC that advocates for profit margins and stuff like that. We can have those conversations, but we can't directly step in like some of these other policies that we've been talking about. The PSC and Alabama Power come to the table and they sit down and they have a conversation. Spire Gas is the same way. But broadband services, we don't have the ability to force them to come to the table and say, this is what you will do, or we will open up this, or we will do this, or we will put fines on them. We don't have that ability right now.
Ms. McNeil?
It's unthinkable to me that there are like 20% of Alabamians who don't have broadband. That's unthinkable. In 2026, we got to do better. A lady called me yesterday. She was filling out she was trying to see who to vote for. And I said, well, have you looked online and checked to see? She said, I don't have internet. In 2026, that's unacceptable in Alabama. So yeah, while we don't have power on the Public Service Commission to do anything, we can advocate to make sure that everyone in Alabama has access to the internet and have broadband in our communities. It's just unthinkable to me, y'all. I just cannot, I just don't understand why we are allowing it to go. So yes, I will be a strong advocate for making sure we expand broadband all over the state, wherever I go. Thank you.
And to echo your sentiment, imagine living in a rural area, being a school principal in 2020, in 2021, you have the individuals who never had access to the internet, but everybody needs to go to virtual learning because it's a safety issue, simply because of the community you live in. So, am I still shell-shocked? Absolutely, because it was, have parents having to go to sit in the parking lot of McDonald's.
And that adds to our position when it comes to education in the country. So not only do we not have we're one of the lowest when it comes to the our educational system, then you don't have broadband. So there are people in our communities who don't have a chance. And that's unacceptable today, y'all. We have got to make sure to advocate to make sure, starting tomorrow, that people have access to internet and broadband. It's just unacceptable. So it's frustrating.
Thank you. So we we are actually at question 7, and we will start with Mr. Ramsey. This is a good one.
All right.
You see my teacher glasses?
I'm ready for it. Come on with it.
If you win, what would be your first goal? If you do not win, how will you try to implement your goals and vision for the Alabama Public Service Commission, some of which you have shared with us today?
When I win, transparency is the first thing that we're going to do. We're going to have the PSC staff online. You're going to be able to see who it is, what their jobs are, what their titles are, what their day-to-day activities are. I'm going to start making social media videos where you can reach me, what my schedule is, what city I'm going to be in, what I'm going to be advocating for on a week-to-week basis, because you need that transparency to bring accountability to people. When you bring accountability and trust to folks, then affordability, which is everybody likes to talk about affordability first. But if we're not transparent and we're not accountable about our transparency, then you're not going to get the affordability that you have. And what am I going to do if I'm not in there? Is I'm going to continue to advocate for working class folks in Alabama. I'm 37 now, born and raised in Alabama. I've got about 50 more years of organizing to do, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be a voice for the people for a long, hot minute. We've got a lot of things that we can write in this state. We're dead last in a lot of different categories, and I'm tired of it also. I'm tired of it. And we're going to change some stuff. Whatever we can get to, we're going to get to it.
Thank you. And Ms. McNeil, same question. If you win, what would be your first goal? And if you do not win, how will you try to implement your goals and vision for the Alabama Public Service Commission?
That's a really interesting question when I think about the changes that the legislature just made to the Public Service Commission. So they're going to appoint 4 new people in July. When I win in November, who am I going to represent? Who are they representing? So first of all, we need to clarify who we are and who we represent when we go in the door. Now, my goal, my priority is to be an advocate for my community. So I need to know who I'm representing. So there's a lot of confusion around that, but when I'm elected, my plan is to go in and make sure the playing field is level, that we understand where we are, and to be a strong voice for the people, and they know that I'm there to fight for them. I forgot the other part of your question.
And I think you answered, if you win, what would be your first goal?
Right.
And if you do not win, how will you try to implement your goals?
If I don't, well, I plan to win, but I have these gentlemen right here. One of these are gonna win, okay? And I have relationships. You know what I've learned in my political career is relationship building is key. Interpersonal relationship, you can't get a thing done unless you got a relationship. So my plan is, I have a relationship with these gentlemen. When they win, and I don't win and they win, I'm gonna knock on their door as often as I can to make sure that they're doing the right thing by the people of Alabama.
Thank you. And Dr. Gordon, same question.
Yes, when I win, the first thing I would do is talk to the PSC attorney to make sure, to look at the pathway we can do a 25% Alabama power rates. Secondly, the same thing, the first thing I would do, York County, City of York had to turn the water off for a week. Pritchard had to buy the water from Mobile and double the rate. There's PSC grants that help small cities put wells in. So the city of Slapout, city of Robertsdale, city of Pritchard, city of York, many small cities around our state have gotten unserved because of the commissioners just focusing in that one area. There's grants for bike trails, for sidewalks. There are streets that I drive down at night that if I don't have bright lights on, I almost feel like I miss someone. I have to be very careful because people are walking on the street and they don't have bright colors on. So the PSC takes care of sidewalks, grants, public water, water wells for poor cities or small cities, bus services. There are grants for bus services for small cities. So if I win, and when I win, I will do that. That's first step. The second thing I'll do, if I do not win, I will still try to make sure those cities know about those grants. Because when I was serving in the legislature, then I know about the PSC grants for wells for the city of Pritchard. They've been trying to dig a well for over 30 years. York turned their water off for a week, but its residents had to go without water. Unacceptable.
Thank you for your responses. This is going to be difficult coming really soon. So we have our last closing statements. You will each have 1 minute, and we will start with Ms. McNeil.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Appreciate you tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to sit here today and to be a candidate or the Democratic nominee for this position. And what I think we need to understand that this is one of the most important positions on the ballot because it affects 1.5 million Alabamians. And utility rates are too high. That's some of the highest in the country. Something has to be done because what's been going on for the last 20 years got us to where we are today. And if we want change and we want something different, we got to do something different. So I say I'm asking for your vote in November so that we can bring about change, the change that we need, so that we can give power back to the people and that we can make the Public Service Commission what it was intended for. We don't need 7 people. The 3 people sitting there can do it. But we're gonna work with what's going on, but at the same time, it's gonna be important that we be a strong voice for the people and give the power back to the people.
Thank you, Ms. McNeil. Dr. Gordon?
Sadly, with the new law that just passed, the 3 members to 7 makes it 7 members of the advisory board, as the Secretary of Energy has sort of the power over the commission. 5 of the members have to come together to overrule the Secretary of Energy. So we need to try to fix that. The people who elect these commissioners, they should be the one that dictate to the services what will happen. Train service from Mobile to Huntsville, wouldn't that be nice? We did a study a few years back at the University of Mississippi, one of those did a study. Amtrak's average, they're not governed by the PSC anymore. But there are 2 private train sections or services that are governed by the PSC. So that's something that we need to look at. The Public Service Commission has about 10 different things in their purview that they need to work on. Train service, north to south in our state, the waterways, the sidewalks, the bike trails. Also, Alabama Power, getting them in check. The gas company, keeping them in check. Mike, thank you. Please vote May 19th. We'd love to have your vote. Thank you.
And we will round out with Mr. Ramsey.
Yeah, I would like to say that there's 2 places of economic development that are growing rapidly in the state. That's Baldwin County and the Huntsville area. And neither one of them is serviced by Alabama Power. And I don't think that's a coincidence. There's a reason why those people have enough money to spend on extracurricular activities, on building a new house, on having enough tax dollars in the community to build sidewalks and roads and things of that nature. Alabama Power is robbing Alabama citizens every single day and every single month. And you might not pay a power bill directly, but your neighbor does, your community does, someone else in the state does. And when we see $1.4 billion a year leaving the state, that's $1.4 billion that could have been spent locally in our economy, helping build resilience within inside of our people. And that's what I'm fighting for day in and day out. That's what I'm doing with the Public Service Commission. And I appreciate you voting on May 19th so I can start getting that work done.
Well, I will say that I have, as my mother used to say, you're never too old to learn something every day. And just during a short amount of time, there are some things that I was able to pick up with some areas of the Public Service Commission that I didn't know they were responsible for. Voter education is extremely important. And again, I thank you. So can we give our candidates a round of applause for being primary on May the 19th. And just a little nugget I want you to remember, those who are here with us and those who are watching online. Your vote isn't just a mark on the ballot. It is your loudest voice in the room when the future is decided. Don't let others choose the world you have to live in. So I need everyone to take 60 seconds to verify your voter registration status today or sometime in the near future. Because a democracy only works when you show up to claim your power. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate you, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jones, and thank you to the candidates who came this evening. We were so appreciative of this educational opportunity that we were able to give to the voters. I also just want to make one statement about voting. If you check your voter registration status and you are inactive, the time to register to vote has passed. However, you can go to the polls and cast a provisional ballot. So if you get to your polling place and they say that you are not on the voter roll or you are inactive, ask them for a provisional ballot so your voice can still be heard. So, again, thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Also, absentee voting is going on.
Absentee voting is
You can
going
vote
on.
absentee until May 14th.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. So, vote however you can vote, but it is important that we have high voter turnout. So, thank you all. We appreciate your attendance this evening, and we hope to see you at our next forum. Thank you so much.
It's like from like last year. I also feel like I'm like my share. I know it's like